All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another SAM.gov bids live show, if you will. We're trying to make a show out of it here where we walk through small business contracts live on SAM.gov, and we answer questions along the way to hopefully give you some SAM.gov training, also some bid training, capture management training. We do pull on a couple of different things in our approach, and the goal here is really to have fun with this. And yeah, we're kind of nerds. We geek out on stuff like this, right? But also do things that are practical for you so that you can approach this in a way that's going to make sense for your small business entering into the federal space here. So we do have some bids pulled up as always. The first one we'll be looking at today is for sidewalk repair project. I know I don't do a lot of construction bids very often, so I thought I would pull something in to start today. Second one I pulled is for employment outreach services. Looks like for the Missouri Army National Guard. We also have for the VA, reader services for visually impaired employees. Next, HVAC system replacement over at Cape Cod Canal. Coastal Resilience Program annual program support over at Tyndall Air Force Base. And I don't know if we'll get through all of these today. We will try to keep on pace. And if you're new here, we kind of answer questions in between bids. So feel free to put those in the chat, and then I'll get to those as I can as we go throughout. But let's go ahead and just dive into our first sidewalk repair project for the Army over Fort McCoy in Wisconsin. Not sure if that's the place of performance, but that is the contracting office. Looks like the updated offers due date is August 30th. Which would give you about a week as of today to respond to this. This is a small business set aside. And we do have the 238-990 specialty trade contractors, other specialty trades, with the place of performance being in Dublin, California on this one. So you'll see they will procure out of offices that could be located, anywhere in the country, but where the work is being done is often not the same state or same location where contracting sits. It is sometimes, but it's not usually the case, to be honest with you. So they are saying specifically in the listing description, the Fort Hunter Leggett DPW has a requirement to upgrade and repair its damaged concrete, including sidewalks, curbs, and that's over at the Parks Reserve Forest Training Area in Alameda County. The construction work will be limited to 8th Street between Davis Avenue and Doherty Road, and then damaged sidewalks and curbs shall be replaced with new sidewalks and curbs. So pretty straightforward statement of work, if you will. Start with the attached IFB, which is actually an invitation for bid, which we see more often with construction jobs, which is why we don't see invitations for bid very often with, say, other professional service contracts. We see more, RFPs and RFQs. So let's just take a glance at the attachments we have, and then we'll just dive in and make sense of these. So seeing an amendment, seeing what looks like the solicitation itself. We have sidewalk section details. We have quantity. We have an OPSEC attachment, wage determination, SF-24, and then the statement of work. So first things first, I'm going to take a look at the solicitation document and see what we have to work with. So this is standard form 1442. Anybody who's in construction, you would see this a lot more frequently as opposed to seeing SF-1449 form. The 42 form, they use this quite a bit for construction type work. So initially we're hit with pricing CLINs to repair the sidewalk, and it looks like it's just one CLIN. We don't know what type of breakdown they would be asking for this, but we know in terms of this pricing CLIN, it's going to be one price. We have our delivery schedule, 120 days here after notice to proceed, ANP. Go ahead and zoom in a little bit more for you. 120 days. You got to be finished. So really, 3 to 4 month time period to complete this project. It is California, Dublin, so weather shouldn't really be that much of an issue. Bid is due on the 23rd, which there's an amendment to update this. And see how it says bid opening time? That's because this is an invitation for bid, where very literally it's like a physical thing where you print this off, you have it delivered, or you hand deliver it, and people sit in a room and they open the bids one at a time, and the winner is chosen right then and there. And it's going to be based off of price. That's typically how invitation for bids work. Let's see here. Okay. In this case, they're saying actually traditional paper bids will not be accepted. So they are saying, and that's because of COVID. So instead, because of that, they're giving you a secure access file exchange to do this. But typically, back in the old days, I don't know if we'll ever return or not, but they are saying the public bid openings, again, due to COVID, it's going to be via teleconference instead of in person. So you can see how they've kind of built off of the old ways to now adjust for COVID. But this is how things would typically be done. And I'm sure in some cases are still being done. So they are saying evaluation factors. So we do want to pay attention to this. Government will evaluate bids received. Bidders shall submit a price for each item specified, which we just saw one. No bid for a quantity less than that specified will be accepted. You can't do any partial bids. Bids shall be evaluated using quantities set forth. All prices bid in response to the solicitation must include all costs. So they're kind of repeating themselves. I was looking for them to come out and say lowest price, but it could be inferred. But technically acceptable, meaning just because you're the lowest price does not mean you automatically win. They do want a bid bond guarantee for this, and I skipped it, but the magnitude on this, I should go back to it. They said it's 500K to $1 million right here. Project magnitude. So rough order of magnitude is a term the government uses, where sometimes they give you a not to exceed number or a range. In this case, it is a range. So you have a pretty good idea what you're kind of dealing with this. If you're greatly over or greatly under that range, you're probably misquoting the work somehow. So this is actually pretty straightforward. It's just a little bit different than what we look at because it is a construction bid and it is an invitation for bid, like I said, rather than a RFP or RFQ. And we talked about some of those differences already with the public bid opening being a thing, whereas usually with other professional service type bids, we have more of a source selection board and evaluations taking place. This is on the spot, which means it's solely price driven. And that's how it's able to be on the spot. So other than that, I'll see what other documents we have. And good morning, good afternoon, everybody in the chat. We will say hello in just a few minutes. What else we got here? I do want to check out the amendment really quickly. And as you have questions, feel free to share those. Purpose of the amendment is to extend the due date, like we touched on. Looks like it's really the only thing, so not too much. With amendments, though, guys, this is for all bids. I'll reopen it. Anytime you see an amendment, it literally says amendment, right? You have to acknowledge that. And that's not by just putting in your proposal, we acknowledge amendment number whatever. If it's in a form like this, you have to formally acknowledge it by also doing a print sign date. The boxes 15s down here. And then you have to also attach, usually you can just do the first page or whatever the form is. You don't have to attach all the extra stuff typically. You attach this with your bid response. So whether it's extracted and included as part of your proposal, or it's a separate attachment, or it's just included as an attachment in your email, that is how you acknowledge amendments, and you have to do it. It's not something that's optional. So that is a learning lesson for just moving forward, because you are going to run into amendments if you plan to bid on SAM. And when you see them, you have to acknowledge those. Aside from that, I am curious about this sidewalk quantity. Looks like an Excel sheet. All right, so they're giving us, interesting. Always interesting to see what the government can creatively create here. They are telling us total sidewalk is 28,000 square feet, total curb 333 linear feet, as well as total saw cut is 5,495 linear feet. So we have totals, and then we have, it looks like to be a bit more of a further breakdown. And then over here, this is right side, left side total. So they're talking about lengths, width, and curb. So they're giving you arguably the details that you would need. We would want to see if there is a site visit on this. I'm not a construction guy, so arguably somebody in construction would be able to make sense of this. But if you don't, or you cannot, then that's where you ask additional questions and clarifications to contracting. I'm also curious about this SF. Okay, yeah, so this is just our bid bond. And then anything else? We have our statement of work, which I will glance at. And then we will wrap this one up in just a minute. Try to keep things teachable for as long as I can before we move on. So this is statement of work. Looks like a rather thought out one, but it is fairly common with construction contracts. All right. I'm curious about site visit. Feel free to, guys, as you do this, you're going to learn. You're going to learn common terms, words, language. You know, this is like another language that the government uses. So Control F, Control Find is your best friend. One of your best friends when you're looking at bids on SAM, so that you can just jump to that. So for example, I'm control finding site visit in the statement of work. It's not pulling up, but if it was in there, that would just save me so much more time trying to go through pages. So words like that, terms like that, you're going to start to gather a short list of things that are relevant to whatever industry you're in and the type of contracts that you're looking at on SAM. It's a good thing, and it's encouraged to develop a short list that you can lean on as kind of like a go-to to save yourself some time. Didn't see any mention made to site visits. If there isn't one, that's certainly a question that you could go ahead and ask. But point of this one is we don't look at a lot of construction contracts, but there is a lot out there. If you're in construction or you want to be a GC and sub with subcontractors, there is so much construction work out there, and even similar work like base ops. Like I think we have an HVAC one pulled up as well that we'll take a glance at. Let's see. Yeah, number 4 today is an HVAC, which is also considered construction. So keep those things in mind if you're still figuring out what you want to do. And now I don't recommend construction being a thing that you decide one day you're going to go into. It's one of those industries where you do want to have some level of your experience in it. So I don't really see a lot of people being successful just jumping into construction with no experience. But there's a lot of different facets of construction, A&E stuff, or just straight bid build work, and even smaller projects. Great ways to get started. if you happen to be a sub and you're wanting to become a prime, that's the number one thing that I'm seeing in construction and other specialty trade contractors, because you can just go in and undercut everybody because everybody else is a GC. They're working with subs like you, but now you're registered in SAM, you're the prime, and you're just coming in and beating the pants off of everybody on the price because you are self-performing the work. So anybody that is able to do that, you can be extremely, extremely successful in the construction field if you can self-perform. So let's go ahead and check the chat here. Awesome. Looks like you guys are got a whole little community going on amongst yourselves, which is awesome. We got Benel Services in the house, janitorial. Thank you for teaching. Absolutely. I like to do this for fun, to be honest. Like I lack a greater sense of community. And so I do this to, I like to teach, but I like to hang out with you guys as well. Pammy J, St. Louis, Missouri, and Illinois, close to Scott Air Force Base. Awesome. Pammy, I did a contract over at Scott Air Force Base, and it was for VTC, video teleconferencing equipment and installation, and it ended up being a great contract because it had troubleshooting and support on it as well. So we were able to stretch it out for 5 years. So I have been to Scott Air Force Base, I think twice, to check that out. What's going on, everybody? What's going on? We've got SIPA One, Jamo Enterprise LLC, which is a service-disabled vet from Tamara, Florida. Thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah, guys, if you want to exchange like emails or whatever, feel free to connect. Because I know once this goes away, it's kind of it's difficult to connect otherwise, right? Hey, John, what's going on? Yes, John is actually one of our coaching clients. So big shout out to John. Tech Guy Shop says, try search for the word mandatory. Yep. Mandatory is also can be associated with site visits. Sometimes site visits are mandatory, sometimes they are not. So that is also additional terminology you could use. And like I said, you're going to build your Rolodex of terminology that works for you. So things that you see coming up again and again and again can be a good like breadcrumb trail to get you to where you want to go that much faster. This way you can make faster and in some cases more intelligent bid, no bid decisions. If you're trying to, find tripwires or you're looking for an excuse, the bid is innocent until proven guilty, I always say. So if you're looking for reasons to throw it out, you can use these fast track language, learning this second language to get you to those places that much faster. So that all that time you gain back, you can spend and reinvest in the bids that are going to be worth it and make sense for your business. Rachel Hopper, what's going on from Jacksonville, North Carolina? Hey, awesome. We've got a whole network today from across the country. Looks like it's primarily on the East Coast and Southeast as well, but that's still pretty cool. All right, guys, so we'll keep the train rolling and we'll move on to our next bid, and that is going to be for employment outreach services for the Army National Guard. This is due August 25th, one day. So more of an example, probably than something that's practical. Total small business set aside. They're using Human Resource Consulting Services, NAICS code. And this is out of, looks like Flowood, Missouri. I think MS is Missouri, right? So RFI, August 17th, posted August 17th. We'll dive into this to see a little bit more what this means. We've got some copy and paste stuff going on here. So we have 5 pricing CLINs. They're telling us to use the price proposal submission form attachment 2A to provide your offering. So we will check out that pricing form and try to make sense out of that. CLIN 01 is outreach services, which is the labor Contractor shall perform all functions necessary. Oh, Mississippi. Yeah, not Missouri, Mississippi. One or the other. For the program for Mississippi National Guardsmen and eligible family members. And this is one job, firm fixed price, so it's going to be one number. This is going to start September 29th this year, and it's going to go for this particular CLIN for 1 year until September 28th of next year. Okay, so CLIN 1, you'd be pricing just the labor part. We don't know what else there is, but at a glance, you can see travel, IT equipment, marketing materials, and this analytics software. So there's going to be additional accompanying things that you're going to need to perform on this contract, meaning also additional things you're going to have to price for this contract. So for the travel, are they going to give us a amount? So it's going to be cost reimbursement for pre-approved travel. So it does say there is a limitations of funds. So that's what I was curious about in the contract. So we will look for that. So we'll see. And again, reminding ourselves, because we're already in so many details, employment outreach services. Still not 110% clear on exactly what that means. So it is also our goal to get more clear on that. We know there's outreach support services in terms of warm bodies, labor. We know there's travel associated, IT equipment. Not making mention to specific, so we will keep an eye. Computers, laptops, what's it going to take? Marketing materials, same sort of thing, as well as the software. But I think they're anticipating you using this Zoho analytics software, and they're allowing you to price out for that. They don't expect you to already have that. So it says a contract will be awarded to offers who proposal conforms to the requirements that is determined to be the best value to the government. Okay, so not the lowest price, best value, most advantageous, with appropriate consideration given to their technical approach, okay, your pricing, and past performance. Technical factors and past performance factors, when combined, are significantly more important than price, right? So a low price, a low ball offer coming in on this that does not have strong other factors is absolutely not going to win this bid. The government would rather pay more for a contractor that is able to demonstrate a technical approach and some past performance that is going to give them more confidence. I'll say that much in determining the right contractor for this. So this is Service Contract Act, meaning there would be a wage termination associated with this, which really mandates the minimum amount of pay. So it's not what you have to pay your people. That's not what wage determinations are. It's the minimum amount of pay plus fringe that a contract employee for a certain occupation code shall receive. You get to pick that code. You get to pick the category if the exact thing is not there, which it's usually not, interestingly enough. Again, this is due tomorrow, so not going to be a lot of time. This is National Guard, Mississippi. I think it's time to dive into our attachments. So for our attachments, they do look plentiful, but 3 wage terminations, maybe more. Yeah, definitely more than that. We have a PWS, we have past performance reference, performance relevancy questionnaire as well, evaluation criteria, which they're breaking out for us, which is nice, as well as the proposal submission requirements, i.e. sections L and M, instruction to offerers, and evaluation factors. This leads me to believe that they've broken these out into their own respective documents instead of cramming them all together into 150-page solicitation, which in some cases can be appreciated. Price proposal submission, so also pricing. Then we have clauses, the solicitation itself, it looks like, or maybe an amendment. Maybe a number of amendments, to be honest. Yeah, it looks like there's a number of amendments. Then, yep, more amendments. Okay. So we will take it from the top. I can find where the top is. I lost it. with all of the amendments. So I guess we will just take these one at a time then. We have evaluation, we have proposal submission, we have pricing. So we will start there and then see what we can come up with, and we'll work our way out through these documents. It's interesting how, there is an art and a science to everything. And sometimes with the art, you're used to things being a certain kind of way, but because things are also different in their own way, there's more of a creative approach to however you decide to move forward, meaning there's no right or wrong answer in certain situations. I'm sure that's me totally going way too deep on choosing which document to start with, but it's the way my brain works. So we have our proposal submission requirements. Each volume equates to one binder. Okay, so binders. Volume 1, parts A, B, C, and D. I'm looking for more than volume 1. Looks like there's just one volume, so maybe a bit overkill. It's really more about the 4 parts, A, B, C, and D. So the solicitation itself, the cost and price info, technical info, and then past performance info. No page limit, and then 50 pages for the technical and 25 for the past performance. And if you didn't guess it, yes, you're going to need all of these in your response. You definitely, I'm not going to get into it, but you definitely want to follow when they give you specific instructions about labels, tags, sections, volumes. These can be used as tripwires, fonts, and page limits. If you exceed these, they don't even arguably have to read your proposal. They can throw the whole thing out because you were 51 pages instead of 50. Or at the very least, this part of your section is not going to get a passing rating, and they're going to only evaluate the rest, which you're probably not going to win in that event either. Or if you use a font that's, larger than 12 or smaller than 8, all these little things are extremely, extremely important, which is why also if you're in the commercial business, you don't, you're like, oh, I'm used to doing RFPs. I'm used to doing RFQs. We send these out all day long. You don't just take what you have and give it to the government. You will not survive if you do that. You have to follow these very specific details down to the margins for this one. Okay, so I know I'm beating a dead horse, but we don't always see that. So when we do, I take a minute. So volume 1, part A, remember we have parts A through D. So A, B, C, D. We have our reps and certs. And probably also, I did not actually see, unless I overlooked it, I didn't actually see the solicitation itself. I didn't see a SF 1449 or anything like that. Reps and certs. But we will do a double take. Part B is pricing. Firm fixed price for each contract line item number. I'm just coming back because here's pricing cleanse. And I didn't go through all the documents yet, but I'm looking for that document. And it's probably one that looks like an amendment, so I didn't just open it. But that's what they are referring to, and I would like to find that so that we can know that's what they're referencing. R0007. I thought that was an amendment, but it's not. So it's just 3 pages, combined synopsis solicitation. Again, repeating the cleanse, but they are not giving pricing cleanse to us. They're not giving us an Excel pricing spreadsheet to fill out. So in this case, you're probably making tables in Word doc, Microsoft Word. What is the rule we always say for forms? The rule for government forms, we don't go hunting for them. We fill them out as they are given to us in the solicitation. If they are lacking or not provided and you think they should be there, you can always ask contracting. But otherwise, we would typically, in a situation like this, we would create a pricing table reflective of the pricing cleanse and all those details and the period of performance that they're giving you for the cleanse and any of that information. You would copy that, recreate it, and then add on to it your broken down pricing And that's just what you do when you don't have anything. And again, and if you guys don't know, I don't look at any of these ahead of time. So I go through these live with you. I can often miss things, and I haven't even opened up majority of these documents, but I'm pretty good at seeing from a high level what we have. So this is RFIs, also known as Q&As. Looks like that's what a lot of those documents are. I don't know if this is the last one, but this goes up to 28, 30 questions, which hugely important. You definitely, whenever you have Q&As, guys, questions that you can submit by a certain deadline before the bid is due, and they post those answers publicly, you definitely want to read through each one of those, because it can give you really sometimes groundbreaking information on the contract that you may not otherwise have. So that is also super important. We have an amendment. In this one, there's a lot of attachments and it's not clear, so we're a little messy on this one. So just bear with me. It's often a messy process anyways. We just call it embracing the chaos when you write proposals. Remove the staff training requirement. So this is an amendment. The contractor instead will allow the employment coordinators to attend the job-related training so that the staff training requirement is removed. Okay, fair enough. So yeah, we have RFI 1. This is the start of the Q&A. RFI 2. Assuming this is RFI 3, they're just labeling it different each time, so it's hard to get through. So the next thing I'm mostly interested in is taking a look at the evaluation criteria and then also the past performance stuff. So this is 8 pages. This is evaluation, basis for award, based on the best overall, i.e. best value, they're saying, proposal, technical, past performance, and price, which I think we already gathered this. So for the technical, they have sub-factors, which is good because they're telling you exactly what they want in your proposal. We use these evaluation factors, guys. I always say when it comes to proposal writing and when you're doing your first bids and your first proposal responses, you never start with a blank sheet of paper. You never want to do that. Instead, you want to find and extract either from the instruction to offers or the evaluation factors exactly what the government is wanting from you. You want to take that and use these as headers, okay? And then you flesh them out. This is how you start to build like an outline or a proposal skeleton. This way, you know, even if you're using some sort of a compliance matrix to make sure you have everything in there that's required, this is a way to ensure, because you're backing out from the requirement instead of guessing, well, do they want my company background? Should I put in a summary of this? How should I put my pricing in there? No, we don't guess. We work backwards from what they give us. And then any gaps that we have, we ask questions. And if we still don't get answers to our questions, then we have to make the best assumptions possible to fill in those gaps, because we are never at 100% certainty, especially on the larger the requirement gets. So instead, we use our best information that we can. So sub-factor 1, experience and capabilities. Sub-factor 2, organizational chart and key personnel. Sub-factor 3, management approach. And then 4 is your QCP, your quality control plan. So that is when they look at your technical, and since you know this is what they're, sorry, I'm not sharing my screen. Since you know this is what they're going to be grading you on, like if you're in school and there's a report card, you know, think of each of these. We got English, we have science, we've got gym, we have math. This is what you're going to be graded on. So you best believe these should be in your technical again, which is great because now you don't have to guess what to write. That's factor 1. Factor 2, past performance. They're looking for, I always say the 2 R's, recency and relevancy. They are actually hitting that nail on the head today. So any contracts are going to be referencing, and these don't have to be like government contracts, chicken before the egg type thing. This can be work you've done in the commercial space. This could also be work related to key personnel, subcontractors, or predecessor companies. Those are also things that you can leverage as past performance. If the entity you have registered in SAM today has now no work associated with it, you can use you as key personnel, subcontractors past performance that you may be working with, predecessor companies. Okay. This is going to be confined to work that was done recently and relevantly. So recently, usually no longer than 5 years. Oftentimes they'll say 2 or 3 years. And then relevancy really is talking about two things: the magnitude, the dollar range. You know, if you're going after $1 million contract using a past performance for a $10,000 job, it's not going to be very relevant. And then secondly, the actual scope, which kind of goes hand in hand with pricing, because scope drives pricing. So what was the work related? How related was it? So that's how they're going to be grading you on this report card. And that is typically how they will grade past performance, unless it's just a pass fail thing. You have it or you don't. In this case, it's best value. They are grading it. Subfactor 2 is confidence. And I need to know what they mean by that. Confidence. What does confidence mean? I don't know. It would be worth asking a question. There's at least 30 questions asked on this, if not more. Maybe it was answered there. But they are referencing. This is why you have to read. And, you know, we only have so much time to go through each of these, so it is very high level. But there is a performance confidence assessment that will be made based on the past performance information submitted. So maybe they're tying subfactor 1 and 2 together. I'm not sure. And I think I saw, yeah. This is technical risk rating. So this may give them an output of confidence. And I'm going to actually use our Control F power for the interest of time on this. They're saying you got to provide the government confidence. How? So the past/present performance evaluation will consist of a relevancy rating, table 2, and a confidence rating, table 3. So that's what I was looking for. So I actually want to find table 3. Table 3. So here's performance confidence assessment. So based on the information you present, they're either going to have substantial confidence, satisfactory, neutral. Neutral, guys, just so you know. Neutral means no, recent, or relevant. So you'll get a neutral if you have nothing. Now, if you, it's like they're going to have even less than that if you propose something that gives them a low expectation based on what you submitted. So in other words, you'd be better off submitting nothing instead of shooting yourself in the foot. And the no confidence means there's just no expectation that you're going to be able to do this job. Okay. So this is what they mean by confidence. And we kind of had to go on the rabbit hole a little bit to find that, meaning the rabbit hole of like the confusion of the documents here. But coming back now, we know recency and relevancy, the 2 R's, and confidence. Now, that was factors 1 and 2. Factor 1 was technical. Factor 2 is past performance. Factor 3 is price. And we already know the other factors when combined are more important than price. But the price is just going to be the TEP, the total evaluated price, by adding the price inclusions together. Now, in terms of evaluation, how the winning bidder will be chosen, they are going to be using a source selection process, a board, which is pretty typical. And they're going to basically be going line by line with the report card. And for them, that's adequacy of response and feasibility of your approach. So they're diving in more. So factor 1, how are they looking at your technical rating? How are they doing that? Okay, it's reflecting the degree to which your approach meets or does not meet the minimum requirements. And based on that, this is the report card. Like this is literally the report card. You're going to get a rating for your technical based on this. You're either going to be rated outstanding, good, acceptable, marginal, or unacceptable. And if you don't win this, or if you do win this, either case, and you do a proposal debrief, you're going to see, oh, you were rated acceptable for this section. You were rated good for this section. So this is literally them giving you the keys to the kingdom here for you to know what they're looking for so that you can approach your response and your proposal in a way to make it as outstanding as possible for your technical. And more specifically, these sub factors that we've already went in through. They're telling you exactly what they're looking for. So there's no guesswork, absolutely none for this part of it. Okay, and then they also have, this is where that table 3 came in. They're going to be rating you confidence based on the past performance information that you submit. This is that table right there, the substantial confidence, the neutral, the limited that we already talked about, and then factor 3 pricing. It says price is not rated. The purpose of the price cost evaluation is to determine whether your proposed prices are determined to be fair and reasonable instead in comparison to the competition and the current market conditions. Okay, so they're not going to say, good, better, best for your pricing. Instead, they're going to use it as a gauge to compare to the competitors and what the government sees as more like their own independent government cost estimate, what they think it's going to be on the inside. They're going to use this all as a gauge to then include with your approach and your past performance. So I'm going to move on from this bid in the interest of time. We're going to check the chat. I think there was a lot of good stuff in that one, which is why I wanted to spend time on it, but it is a bit more involved bid. I think we got to a lot of the meaty points though. I feel pretty good about it. Yeah. Okay. And if you guys are chatting amongst yourselves, that's cool. I'm not going to respond to that. I'll just try and pull out questions that I can answer. I see active bids with prior year dates, 2018, 2019. So if you're referring to SAM and you're like doing a search, simple search, maybe like NAICS code or keywords, and you have old dates on it, it may have not just been archived yet. So you want to look and if you can see like when the proposal due date was due, they may not have archived it yet. So it's still hanging around SAM. It also, maybe not back to 2018 or 2019, but say it was from a year ago, say it was from 2021. Sometimes solicitations get really drawn out and it could just be hanging around and being amended and extended. You'll see this a lot with the much, much larger contracts, usually contracts much larger than what we cover here. But these things can be stretched out by 6 months, 9 months. And so there can be overlap there to a prior year. But like I said, sometimes things just don't get cleared out. The other thing is with SAM, there are active and inactive bids. So you want to make sure that you are searching solely by active bids so that you're not pulling up the bids that are inactive. That could just be giving you a lot more search results that are not things that you would be looking for. So check that in your SAM.gov filters, in your search filters as well. Jeff Chester, that one looks fun to review. 4 amendments. They're all different. What's the total value of the contract? Yeah, so they don't tell you the total value of the contract. That's the thing. Does the government have a magic number behind the scenes, what they think it should cost? Yes, of course. Like I made mention to earlier, independent government cost estimate, IGCE or an IGE, they have an idea, but they don't share that with you. That's the whole point. It's up to you as a small business and the competition to propose, and the government will usually allow, I don't know, like a 5, 10, maybe 15% swing above or below what they think it should cost before they get too alarmed. But they're not going to say it costs this much, so everybody price it at this, because what would be the point of that from their standpoint? It's contracting's job to save taxpayers dollars. Okay. And that's part of the evaluation process to get the best bang for the buck. It's not the only thing they care about. That's why they're not always going for lowest price. Like what we looked at, best value is more important of an approach. So that's the government saying, hey, we're willing to pay more because this is something we need more confidence in and we don't want messed up. Or this is just something that's not like a commodity buy where we know it's going to be apples to apples to apples. So we have to apply more scrutiny, more factors like past performance, and really broken down technical approaches to really weed out who's going to be the winner from those who are not going to pull ahead. Hopefully that makes sense. Jeff, hey, my friend Derek, it's been a while. I wanted to tell you, I still come back and watch your YouTube, so I won't get behind on things. You're the best. Hey, Jeff. Yes, I recognize recognize your logo, so I definitely recognize. I know a number of Jeffs. Maybe Jeff Fennel, if that's you. Appreciate you and good to see you. Now, Jeff Chester, to that same point, what is the turnaround on that RFP with 100 pages due? It is due the 26th. Yeah. Or wait, no, I'm sorry. I just closed it out. I already closed it out. I know that I said it when we first opened it up. Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to quickly re-find it. But yeah, it's recorded. So if you want to scroll back and check it out. Pick some good ones today. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. The idea here on relevancy is that if you built a water tower that is steel work, so if the government needs, you can make the argument that this is steel work. You want to make it easy for the review team to draw the conclusion that it is the same type of work, even though it is different. I think I understand where you're coming from, Tech Shop. Relevancy, it's not complicated at all. And I think what you're saying is, even if you have work, or regardless of work that you want to include for your past performance, you want to highlight and call out and identify the part of the project that is as relevant to the work you're going after is, because we can make things sound similar or we can make things sound dissimilar just in the way that we present it and the words that we choose and the areas of the scope of the contract that we decide to include. So whether it is a direct comparison, past performance, or it's something that's maybe close, but it's different because there's a different part of scope on it. You want to highlight those areas when you include, your past performance in the response. When you're laying it out there, you're presenting it. You want to lead with your best foot forward. Meaning, if it's got these in common, you want to lead with that, because it's going to demonstrate to the government that hey, this is relevant to their point. War Dog, do you have a scheduled work routine as far as working strictly in your government business? For example, you start and finish from set time. Thing with the government contracting is you have to meet the needs of your customer. Dates are always changing, and amendments happen, things get kicked back, there's site visits. So there are a lot of milestones on your plate. And then say if you're working with subs and you're coordinating with them and you're managing them and you need to get them places, or you're giving them deadlines to meet before your own deadlines, you can see how working your calendar is something that requires a lot of attention, but also a lot of finesse and flexibility so that you can organically meet the needs of what's going to be required. If you're going to be extremely rigid, it's not really going to work. When it comes to the actual bidding and proposal writing process, you need to be able to be reactive and fluid to the needs that I just laid out. However, I do think that there are some good things that you can structure and be rigid on especially when you're newer and you're setting up like some of the systems that we talk about, like a prospecting system in SAM and a bid no bid system or a capture management system to apply to those bids, and even your actual bidding process as well. I think there are some structures and fundamentals that you can lay out if you're brand new or you're not new, but you don't have them. For example, how many times per week are you going to review new bids? Okay, so kind of like a prospecting system. It's not a bad idea to schedule or routine that part of it. That way you don't have to think about it. You already decided months ago that this is when you check bids. And so that's when you're going to check them. Okay, so you set up your automated save searches, and then you either check your email updates that you get from SAM, or you just go in and manually do what's new based on your new or based on your saved searches, right? So you want to do it every day, you want to do it in the morning, or do you want to do it every other day, or you're only doing it once a week on the weekends because you really don't have that much time to commit to it? What does that look like for you? Make a decision and then stick with it and be consistent, and then allow that to evolve over time as you want to. So prospecting system, for example, is huge. Same for your bid, no bid. How often and when and how much time are you going to allot yourself to look at a contract to decide? In other words, how much time are you willing to invest? So I got 3 hours. We're doing a half of a day, or I've got 1 hour, a couple of days this week, and this is what I'm going to allot for building a short list of bids that I think are really good. Maybe just 1, 2, or 3 that you're actually interested in going after. It's also good to systematize and have a bit of structure with that. That way, that these fundamental things are getting done. And then aside from that, that's where the finesse and the flexibility comes in, so that you can, with the 1 bid or the 2 bids or the 3 bids that are due over the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 days, whatever it is, then you can flow into as needed to best perform. I even forgot to mention, question due dates. So there's so many dates and milestones that you need to be open to and be able to flex with. Once you get this core structure in place, that allows you the liberty and the freedom to do what's needed for these things that matter. I hope that makes sense. I went on a bit of a soapbox, but I think it's a cool question. So hopefully that was helpful. And then Kendall, can you use an LLC that you get online for free? I'm not sure what you mean, Kendall. If you mean to register in SAM. You do need an entity to register in SAM. It can be a sole proprietorship. It can be an LLC. It can be an S Corp. It can be a C Corp. It's got to be an entity, And if it's going to be something more like a sole proprietor, that entity is going to have your SSN associated with it. But if it's more of a tax structure, then you're going to need something like some form of TIN, like an EIN number that you would get from the IRS. I'm not sure about the whole free thing. I don't think that really much matters how you get it set up, but it's got to be legitimate business registered in SAM first. If it's free and you didn't go through getting your articles of incorporation with your state and getting something with the IRS, then it's probably not an actually set up business. I am not a legal person and I am not a tax person, so I would recommend checking out online resources for more information on that. Okay, guys, let's keep the truck rolling here. Wow, we're already almost at our hour, so this will be the last one that we look at, I suppose. And guys, if you're wanting additional support, and if you haven't checked out, even we've got a free masterclass, totally updated. It's basically the latest and greatest stuff that I see new government contractors struggling with. Things like overcoming not having past performance, or hangups just for getting registered in SAM, and how to actually be a quote unquote legal middleman. Some of these things that people don't have the right regulations and laws figured out. That's all actually in the free training that I have here on the website. just GovKidMethod.com. Feel free to check that out. And if you've already checked it out, just know if you want additional resources as well. I put a lot into what we have, our bidding bundle now. This is where all the CAPE statements are. Our proposal templates are there, as well as a bid in 30 days or less on SAM program. So it's a self-study course as well. That's all in a bidding bundle. You can check that out. And if you want your handheld more, you want me actually involved in the bids that you're looking at, I do have a group of clients that we meet 2 times a week on Zoom. And that's more of that Zoom coaching support if you're looking for more serious support. So you can go ahead and check that out, govkidmethod.com, in case you're looking for something extra. But if you have not yet, just check out the free training. It's totally free. I highly recommend that to everybody. So moving on, HVAC. And I did this because we did one construction one earlier with the sidewalks. Today is a little bit of like construction day because we don't do it a whole lot. So that's why I pulled another one similarly. So this is due August 26th. Again, just doing a couple days, so more of an example than something practical. Small business set aside. They do have plumbing, heating, and air conditioning NAICS code. And this is in Bourne. I'm not good with my abbreviations. I apologize. I'm going to go ahead and say MA is Massachusetts, because I think ME is Maine. This is Army Corps. Yeah, Cape Cod. Yeah, so I know Cape Cod, so that's definitely Massachusetts. So this is going to consist of equipment, materials, labor, transport for the replacement of their existing HVAC systems. So probably like just like a single trade. So this is something where you could call around and get HVAC companies in the area to probably go out, do a site visit, take a look at this. We have solicitation and then 3 amendments. Lots of amendments today. Go ahead and close my other stuff out. So look at the solicitation first. Uh-oh. Black screen of death. Not sure what that is all about. Oh boy. Okay, let's see if the amendments will open. All right. Amendments are not opening. Not sure if this is a glitch or if this is something related to the bid. Does say request access here, but they also have the solicitation posted. So for a troubleshoot, I'm just going to bounce over to our backup bid. Hopefully you guys are okay. It looks like the internet signal is maybe a little bit shaky. Hopefully everything's good on your end. I'm just going to go to this other bid and see if it will allow me to open up one of those attachments. Yeah, it's not allowing me. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I don't know if it's a me issue or a SAM issue. If you could let me know in the chat, actually, if you guys are still getting the stream, if everything's still solid on your end, to help me kind of narrow out of this issue. I will go ahead and refresh my screen and I'll try it again. And then it kicked me out. I don't think the luck is with us today. It kicked us out of both of those solicitations, which probably won't be able to get backed to. Since we are at the top of the hour, I guess we'll just kind of call it. I'll check the chat one more time. If you guys have any more questions, we can go for a few more minutes, since I won't proceed with those other bids for whatever reason is going on. Technology, what can you say? If you got anything else, I'll check that. Tizian says still solid here. All right, appreciate it. Thank you. Pam says, how do you find, at least on the government contracting side, how do you find out if cleaning or janitorial contract is a one-time cleaning or a daily, weekly, monthly, to ensure you're able to? Yeah, so that's a good question. I've looked at my fair share of janitorial contracts, and you're right. Usually they're either once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. It depends on square footage, depends on the number of locations, depends on the seasons sometimes. Also, sometimes they'll also include something like a quarterly or semi-annual or annual, like carpet cleaning or floor, like, buffing and striping type stuff. So weekly and semi-annual or whatever should be in the statement of work. I always see it in the statement of work. Make sure you read that. Statement of work is really the meat and potatoes of what the work is to be performed. Sometimes it is a separate attachment. Otherwise, it's usually included within the solicitation itself, known as performance of work statement, statement of work, PWS, SOW. It should have that in there. If it's not in there and you're saying, Derek, I've got it in front of me, I've read it, it's not there, then what you need to do is send an email to the contracting officer or the specialist and just ask them, how frequently should these subject services be performed? And you'll need to get an answer to that before you can price it properly. Because if it's once or twice or three times, your weekly price will be a multiple of 2 or 3, so double or triple depending on the frequency, right? So it's a big deal for your pricing. So I don't recommend going forward with a bid if you're hitting that roadblock and you're missing that key pricing information. And say you're not doing it, but say you're working with like a sub, then in that case, you would need to tell them, because they're going to need to know just as well. So either way, you would have to get the answer, whether you're going to subcontract or you're going to self-perform. So hopefully, Pammy, hopefully that answers you, or at least gives you a safety net if it's not in the statement of work. Okay, guys. Well, I don't see any questions. I don't see anything else. So unless I don't think I missed anybody. Yep. Still good. Thanks. All right. Appreciate you. Tizian Simmons says, I just got a gig where an Air Force base found my business and paid me for my product. Would this count towards past performance when attempting to get contracts? First off, good for you. That's awesome. So congrats on that award. Question, would this count towards past performance? I'm not sure if you were on earlier when we talked about past performance, but there's the 2 R's. So there's recency and relevancy. So my answer is, it would be great past performance if you were bidding on something that was similar to a product buy or similar to the product that you offered the government. That would be great past performance. But if the work you're bidding on going after is not relevant, we wouldn't worry about recency, because it sounds like this just happened. But relevancy, if it's not at all related, say a janitorial contract, a product buy is not at all going to be related to janitorial services. So in that case, you wouldn't use that as past performance. You would hopefully use something else, or even, like a subcontractor's past performance or something like that instead. So just because it's a government job, you don't necessarily want to use it. If you have nothing to use, you could, but like the example we looked at again, you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot. You don't want to take any steps backwards. If it's not relevant at all, I think it's good form to just not use it. So make sure it's recent, make sure it's relevant. If that's the case, then yes, this will count towards your past performance. If it's not recent or if it's not relevant, then no, it would not. Yep, 100%. And that goes for everybody. Top Dog says, lost you on LinkedIn. Yeah. I got a thing for my internet. We're going through storms right now. I was asking everybody earlier if we were still there. So I think it kind of bounced in and out. We did not end up going through the rest of the bids because we were kind of at our time, and I got kicked out of SAM, and I can't get back to those bids easily. So we were just finishing up answering questions, and I think we are about finished because I don't see anything else. So I would like to do another live tomorrow. We will see if you are one who likes to hang out on these. If you have not yet and you like this, smash the like button if you got value from this. And if you're new here and you're not yet, you do want to subscribe to the channel if you want to check out future lives. This way you can get notified when we're going live. That way you don't miss something. So yeah, good stuff, guys. great hanging out today. It was a lot of fun, except for the little storms that we had. But it goes with the flow. So we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for hanging out, and take care.